Some parents let their children cry it out at bedtime, and I have a friend who has a toddler, a preschooler, and she deals with this by putting on headphones on herself and feeling like a monster.
Mm.
What advice do you have for her?
Well, there's like kind of two questions. There's one question, which is what can you do to help your child learn how to self-soothe, learn how to put themselves to sleep? And the other one is what happens if you've decided to do something that doesn't really feel comfortable to you? It sounds like that is also going on.
Right.
And sometimes we make decisions as parents because we feel pressure. We may feel pressure from a partner, an extended family, or somewhere, some internal pressure. It's like, you've got to do this. And yet we haven't really totally bought into it yet. And so I think that that's one thing for her to ask herself, is this really what I want to be doing? Because I think ultimately your discipline is going to feel better to you if it feels comfortable, if you believe it, if it feels like this is the right thing to be doing. And I think even in the effect that it has on the child, if you're doing something that you feel profoundly uncomfortable with, even if you think it's the right thing, it may be very confusing for your child, because they may ultimately get those kind of confusing messages from you. So, I mean, I think there's also a way of thinking about children sleeping, and if we understand that sometimes there's some struggle in children learning to soothe themselves and put themselves to sleep, and that struggle may involve crying, we hear the crying differently. If we hear the crying as, you've abandoned me, I don't know, you don't love me anymore, then it feels terrible. If you hear the child crying and saying, I don't know how to do this yet, this is really hard, I haven't put myself to sleep, how do you do this? I'm confused here, I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do, then it's a different kind of a thing. And so sometimes it's just the perspective on what the child's going through. And if you can see that, and if you can see the child making progress over the course of a week or a couple of weeks, then it makes sense. Because I don't think we're asking any parent to say, you have to listen to your child cry to sleep for the rest of their life. We're saying, in a few days, your child's going to learn the strategies that they need to help themselves go to sleep peacefully, so that you're not struggling, they're not struggling. So sometimes in that process, it's hard, because they may be crying. But again, I think that unless you can do it in a way that you feel ultimately comfortable about, it may be a difficult decision to make, to do it that way.